All right, here's the last recipe we're going to do today, and I think this is just a classic summer appetizer that is so easy and it's so fresh and very, very few ingredients, and that is fresh tomato bruschetta. And when the tomatoes are fabulous, this recipe just gets even better, although you can get great tomatoes, pretty much year-round now at the grocery store. So the first thing I do is I take a French baguette, and I like to slice it on the angle, but that's up to you how you want to do this. And basically you're going to toast this up. And so get it onto a cookie sheet and drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil. You can rub it with fresh garlic if you want to give a little extra garlic flavor. Sometimes I'll season it with a little bit of salt and pepper, maybe some dried Italian seasoning. And this goes into the oven to crisp up. These are basically called crostini, and it's just, it's a fancy word for just toasted bread. And this is what our tomato bruschetta is going to sit on, our tomato that we're going to serve up. So this goes into the oven, and we have some here that are wonderful and beautiful and toasted, and they look terrific. Okay. Now we're going to make the tomato part of this recipe, which just couldn't get simpler. And first we're starting with some wonderful tomatoes. And basically I like to use 3 to 4 tomatoes, seeded and diced. So I don't want to get it watered down with the seeds. And I do a pretty fine dice on this. And this is one of those things that I think people order out at the restaurants, but they're nervous about making it at home. I mean, it's just a few ingredients. Don't be worried about it. Anyone can make this. All right, so we're going to dice up our tomatoes. This is one of those things that you can make it the morning of, or you can whip it together, just a few minutes before you're ready to serve it. I wouldn't do it more than 8 hours before serving. I think the tomatoes tend to break down and it's just not as good. So in go our tomatoes, our fresh tomatoes. Real important to season with salt and fresh ground black pepper. A little bit of olive oil. And then fresh garlic. Now sometimes you can do too much garlic, so it just depends on how big the cloves are. I'm going to do, in this case, 1 to 2 cloves of garlic. And I really want to finely chop it. You don't want anyone to get a big piece of garlic in here. So that's the one time you want to finely mince or chop it. All right. And then the last ingredient, and this is key to really good bruschetta, is fresh basil. I like to put some in and then some on top. So I take the leaves of fresh basil and then I just roll them up. And I give them a rough chop. I take about half of the basil and get it in with the tomatoes. And I just stir this together. You can tell if it needs a little more olive oil. Really fun in the summer to use different colored tomatoes and really wow everybody. But again, this is one of those appetizers that, you pay $10, $12 for at a restaurant, and you can make it at home this summer in minutes. And then the last thing I like to do is do a little bit of, and again, if it's spilling over, that's just fine. It's more like a knife. You could, make it nice and neat if you want, but I kind of like to serve it like that, real rustic. And then I do some fresh grated Parmesan cheese over the top and a little more fresh basil. And there you go. It's the classic summer appetizer, fresh tomato bruschetta. Recipes on our website. We'll be back. Stay with us.